Alright guys, so today we're going to be answering a few math questions. We're going to start out with trying to figure out, what exactly is a square centimeter and what does it mean when I say this area of a rectangle is 15 square centimeters. So for starters, what is a square centimeter? So when we look at units here, we can see this is a square. We all know what a square is. It's got the same length sides, 1, 1, 1, 1. And each of these are centimeters. All that is our unit. So this is 1 centimeter long rather than 1 inch long, 1 unit long, something of that nature. And this is 1 square centimeter. So that's what that means when we say square centimeter. Now, what is 15 square centimeters? How is that the area of this? So here we see we have 3 squares long on this edge, and then we have 5 squares long on this edge. Now we know each square is a centimeter, so 3 centimeters, 5 centimeters. Now I went ahead and divided so you could easily see each individual square centimeter within this rectangle. And I even went and labeled it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, counted all the way up until 15. We can easily see here there are 15 square centimeters within the area of this rectangle. You can see there is no extra and nothing is missing. That is what it means when we say 15 square centimeters is the area. If we were saying just 15 centimeters, that would simply be, one line. Sorry for that. That's not a straight line, but it would just be one line. It's not a square, it's just a centimeter. Now, by same token, why does length times width work for finding the area within a rectangle? So I use the same same rectangle, easier to work with. And here you can see we have 3 different colors, 3 different sections. Each section has 5 different units within it. You can't see it, but it's the same as this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 5, 5. So we look over here, and I even marked out so that you could see it better. This is one group. This is the second group. This is 3 groups. These are all groups of 5. So we know that if we were trying to figure out how many total are in this rectangle, we can find out by simply doing 3 times 5, because we have 3 groups of 5 different units. And we learned that back when we learned multiplication. That's our basic multiplication formula. Certain group of a certain amount. And then you do that times that. So we have 3 groups of 5, so we do 3 times 5. And if you look back, length times width, or perhaps even length times width. But we know since the commutative property, we can switch those around. It does not make a difference. That is why we can use length times width to find the area of a rectangle. But what about when we get to triangles? When we get to triangles, it's a little trickier. The formula is 1/2 base times height, or it can also be written as base times height divided by 2. For this purpose, I think that is going to be the better explanation. But remember, these are the same. They're just written a little differently. So this is our original triangle. You have a height of 6 units and a base of 4 units. It is a right triangle, but that does not matter. This formula works for any triangle. It's just easier to demonstrate with a right triangle, especially since we just covered the area of a rectangle. So, looking at this, it's not so easy, because if we look at this rectangle, we see that it perfectly evenly does not add any units or cut out any units. We don't have anything like this, where you're like, what the heck is this? That's not a unit. How do I estimate that? So, that's when we get to here. All right, now if we were to reflect this triangle perfectly across the hypotenuse, this line, this edge right here, we would get a perfect rectangle. In this case, because it is a right triangle, it fits pretty evenly, pretty perfectly on these units. So now we have what you can see is a rectangle, very similar to this, just a little bit sideways compared. All right, so when we try to find the area of this whole rectangle, we know that 6 times 4 will give us the entire area of this rectangle because we just covered that up here, length times width. So the whole area of this rectangle, entire area of rectangle, equals 24 square units. But remember, we are trying to find the area of the triangle. And since we took the exact same image, reflected it, we made a rectangle that was 2 times the size of this, then we now need to get half of this, which is easily visible right here. It's easy to see this is half of this entire rectangle. We need to figure out what this half is, and that's where the divided by 2 comes in. So essentially what we have right here, even though it's base times height, essentially what we have is the length times width of this rectangle divided by 2. All right. And as we said before, 6 times 4 is 24 divided by 12, and that will give us our square units. And remember, this is only square units because there's not a specified unit. If it were centimeters, such as this, we would write that it was 12 square centimeters. And that is how these area formulas work, and that is why they work.